Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I chat with actor Jason Kravits about his new live improv show, Off the Top. Whether you recognize him from Broadway in shows like The Drowsy Chaperone or Relatively Speaking, or TV such as Halston, The Undoing, Be Positive, or Search Party, you've never seen Jason in a show like Off the Top. It's a one-man improv show where Jason invents an entire cabaret from scratch right before the audience's eyes. We talk about how he put that thing together, what it's like to be on the edge of success and disaster every night, what he's learned about the audience, and much more. Tickets for the upcoming September 17th and 18th live show at Birdland NYC are available in the link at the description. There is an intermittent problem with my microphone that does affect this interview. Jason's audio is fine. It's a great chat, and I hope you enjoy.
Hello, Les. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
No, of course. Thanks for calling.
So you've been one of those actors that's been on just damn near everything I've seen, and I'm always smiling like a goober and like, that's it, I love this guy. Every time you turn up on a show, I just feel like, oh, we're supposed to be friends with this guy, right? Like, you just look like a great person.
Oh, well, I'm glad I come across that way. That's good to know.
You know, granted, even if the role doesn't, sometimes I'm like, oh, he got me, he's a villain. But, you know, most of the time, and then when I was seeing what you're up to right now with your one-man show, which of course has a band and whatnot, but I feel like you're the one on the edge of the mountain there.
Yeah, on the edge of the razor. Yeah, no doubt. I still consider it a one-man show with a band. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about getting that developed? I have
Sure.
so many questions on how you write it, how you wake up in the morning on a day when you don't want to do it, and reach down and find it to do this. For the folks at home, this is a one-man show that Jason does where it's a fishbowl of cards and just audience suggestions and song after song, inventing a cabaret just out of your head and suggestions. So you talk a little bit
I'll tell you all about it. Sure. Well, sure. I've been making up songs in my head and out loud, for years, to the annoyance of my friends and family. And I just happened to be doing an improv show with some friends in Los Angeles. I was invited as a guest to stop in and do a musical improv night. And I had no idea what to expect from this thing. And at one point they said, we're just going to talk and then the music will start and we'll do some songs. And I said, great. And they did. This is a group called Diamond Lion that used to be based out of UCB with a lot of talented people like Elijah Skinner and Jeff Hiller, Gareth Copeland, Thomas Middleditch was in the group. And just a real nice, solid group of people. So I thought, great, if I start singing and then they'll just come in and we'll just do something together. And the music started for the first song and I started singing and nobody came in. And I ended up doing an entire song by myself. And I was like, wait a minute, I can't believe I just did that. I wonder if I can start doing that. So I started thinking of the idea of a parody of a cabaret. There's a lot of people who do parodies of the old, Broadway cabaret artists at the end of their rope,
Mm-hmm.
like just doing all the songs and there's certain styles that every cabaret has. So I started looking at those styles and going, okay, what kind of songs are done in the cabaret? What makes a good cabaret? And I kind of studied it in New York and then, at different festivals and then just online reading about it. And so I started to develop certain song styles, whether it's a ballad or a patter song or the 11 o'clock number, the song that was cut from your favorite musical, or or something like that. And I just started listening to different song styles and song stylists, and developing ideas about shapes of songs. Once that was done, and we started coming up with my musical directors over the years, and I had come up with different shapes of songs, I started just practicing rhyming and practicing, making up words and letting my mind go. And it's difficult. It's really scary. But I think, living on the razor's edge like that on stage is kind of what the audience wants to see. So I can tell you what's interesting is what I've noticed is if it goes really smoothly, the audience stopped. That was one of the early discoveries, is if it goes too smoothly, the audience tells me, they go, oh, I almost forgot it was improv there for a while. And, I didn't want that to happen, because once you forget that it's improv, then it's just a bunch of mediocre songs you've never heard strung together. So I had to constantly figure out ways to raise the bar with each song, whether it's, okay, now I'm going to do a medley of songs, or I'm going to do a duet with somebody else, bring some other occasion, do a harmonized duet that we've never come up with before. Song that gets faster as it goes along, adding instruments to songs, different things like that, in order to just keep the temperature up during the show. So that was how I developed it, and it started with doing it once in a while, and then I developed it at a place called the Duplex in New York City, famous cabaret venue. I was doing that. They gave me a once-a-month slot so I could learn the show and grow the show and kind of develop a skeleton to hang all the songs on. And then I started doing it at Birdland in New York, and then Edinburgh and Adelaide and London and Amsterdam and Los Angeles, and just kind of traveled around with it. And it's been just a great, until COVID hit. It was a real regular thing. The last thing I did before COVID was I did a 6-show run in London that sold out and got great reviews. So finally bringing it back to Birdland in September, and if all goes well with all these fun variants, we'll still do it, and it's exciting. I'm excited to be back on stage, and I'm kind of terrified to be back on stage at this show.
I had not considered the high wire act of not wanting the audience to feel that it's coming across too smoothly. But I don't think I'd ever considered.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to learn.
Yeah, this double pun is exceptional if I came up with it off the top of my head. But if I spent a year on this song, and
yeah, it's not that good. I mean, people are like, you should take some of these songs and write them down and turn them into something. I'm like, no, they're not that good. They're pretty basic, versions of songs you've heard before, some variation on songs you've heard before. I did a lot of listening to. As I developed the show, I was doing a lot of Broadway styles, but I started moving away from that towards more loungy song, where swing, I guess is the best way to put it. So I started listening to Mel Torme, and I started listening to Sammy Davis Jr. And, Mel Torme used to arrange songs for Sammy Davis Jr. And Sammy Davis Jr. is one of the most talented performers in the last 100 years. So, you start going, oh, you know what I like what he does here? I like this bit where he does songs from West Side Story with just a bongo accompaniment. Okay, well, what happens if I did a song that was just bongo accompaniment, just a kind of a low drum beat? What would that be about? How would that feel? So I would bring in song ideas. Let's play with that. Let's just play with. And then you would shift. I had this one song that was just a swing song, and I used to do it kind of regularly, just a kind of a swing shape of a song. I started realizing I like songs where the band sings along. So I'm like, okay, whatever the chorus is, I got to do it, and the band has to sing along with me. Like those old style big band, the band sings along type thing. And then someone said, what you should do? You should put a kind of a rhymed couplet, speaking part in the middle of this song. So I was like, all right, let's try a rhymed couplet. So, I'll be doing this, da 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 type of song, and then in the middle will be like, I went downtown just and it's like, who knows? Whenever I get to that part of the song, I go, I have no idea what's going to come out of my mouth, but it's going to be something. And I just end up having to trust that whatever it is going to connect in some way. And, I'd say 90% of the time, something works in the song. And if it doesn't work, it's just as funny for the audience sometimes because they know it's improvised. So, it's been a fascinating journey developing the show. And I'm really psyched to do it again. My experience doing the show, I'll answer the other question you had about what's it like when you get up in the morning and you go and do the show. I'd say almost every time I've got up in the morning on a show day, I didn't want to do the show. It's terrifying. And I quit the business. I quit acting. I quit everything on those days. I wake up in the morning and my girlfriend will tell you, I'm like, this is the dumbest idea. Whose idea was this? I have to make up an hour's worth of songs now, and I'm all by myself, and I don't know what to do, and God, I hate this, and no one's gonna come, and no one's gonna like it, and I quit. Why am I torturing myself? And then I'll go and do the show, and usually have a good time, and then I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll do it again.
Yeah, I always hear that yes and is the first thing you've got to learn in improv, but I would think that the first thing you learn in improv is that this might not work, and I will still have to be up here. Because it can't possibly all connect, and you've just got to go for it. And I would assume at some moments, just kind of Andy Kaufman yourself of just, you know what, I'm doing great, and I know it. I don't care if none of this room got it.
Exactly.
Do you remember did you have any really tough nights when you were first working up the show here in New York?
It never felt like it at the end of the day, but there were moments. There were moments when I remember I was doing a show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and the shows were all at like 4:00 in the afternoon, which is not an ideal time to see a cabaret of any kind. You want to drink, you want to be drinking and having a nice relaxed time. And I wasn't feeling well that day, and I said afterwards, I said to people, I wasn't feeling right. They said, well, yeah, we noticed that when you couldn't think of a rhyme for bread. You just kept rhyming with the word bread. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem. I'm just like, yeah, there's lots of rhymes with bread, but if you can't think of them and you just keep saying the same word, it's not impressive. It's not very impressive. So there were definitely moments like that. There was a moment with my band where I said, you know what, let's do this song. I'm going to make this a joke in the show, and I'll say, we usually do, for those who know time signatures, we usually do this song in 6/8 time, but there's 6 beats per measure. But you know what, we're running low on time, so we're going to cut it down to 5 beats per measure. We're going to do this in 5/4. And the band, we rehearsed it once, the idea of it once. The band nailed it, but I could not do it. I just kept screwing up and adding a beat, and it just became a joke with the audience that I was so bad at the one thing that I was trying to do. My musicality cred went out the window. But yeah, there are definitely moments where I'm like, this is going to be a tough one. Sometimes your brain's just not firing in the right way.
I'm always curious when stand-up comedy or improv comedy, when any kind of personal relationship with the audience joke structure goes overseas or goes to a different storytelling background, national identity kind of thing, and seeing how it plays. But I would think that with your show, there'd be a particular difference in traditional songbook. I mean, when I listen to bands that come out of England, you can tell they grew up on different music than I grew up on, or Russian rock bands. And did you ever run into, like a European audience going, what's an 11 o'clock song? Or not?
Not really. I think that people, even if people don't, even if I don't call it the 11 o'clock number, everybody understands the idea of the big rousing anthem song that comes into a show, or the personal reflection song. They all have their own version of it. And a lot of what I'm doing is based on pretty generic versions of that. I mean, there's a million different Sinatra and Dean Martin and Mel Torme and Sammy Davis Jr. and all Bobby Darin and all the crooners they all do a 32-bar song where the title and the title's in there at the end of the 32 bars, and you meet every single time. You know, you can do it over and over and over again, and it's a 32-bar. You recognize everything. And there are songs that they're called title songs, where the first line is the title. I've got you under my skin. The title is in the first, and it's the first line of the verse, and it's the last line of the verse. You know, it's like, and that's a 32-bar song, and you just get to know these styles. There's Somewhere Over the Rainbow. There's another title in the first line. You know, so once you start realizing that those are kind of universal, then people know, if you stick with that type of universality, people get it. You know, there's catchphrase songs. I mean, there's so many different versions, but people do recognize them without having the names thrown at them. There's a very different when you travel. The suggestions you get are, I mean, sometimes impossible. What I ask for when I have people fill out the suggestion cards at the beginning of the show before I come on stage, everybody sits down, they get a suggestion card, and it'll ask for a few things, 5 or 6 things. It'll be the name of a place, a thing, words to live by, or a piece of advice or something like that, and the last thing you texted on your phone, you know, something like that. Just a bunch of stuff that I can play with, and it'll all get thrown into a fishbowl on stage. And as I need information, whether it's about the stories that I'm telling or the songs that I'm singing, I will reach into the fishbowl and pull out a suggestion. And while if I'm in anywhere in the United States and I ask for a place, chances are I'll know something about that place. When we were in Australia, that was not the case at all. And I got, you know, somebody gave me Darwin, which I knew nothing about. So I literally had to do that old trick with the audience where I was like, who here's from Darwin? Who loves Darwin as much as I do? Do you love Darwin? What do you love about Darwin? Yes, of course, the heat, the extreme heat. Boy, who doesn't love that? And those animals they have there, those crocodiles, of course. Yes, those are hard. So I said that I based the song completely on their story about Darwin. So I've had to work myself out of a lot of sticky situations just by not understanding the references at all. It's always a challenge, but the audience, that's what the audience really wants to see. They want to see you dig a hole and then climb out of the hole. Whether will you get out of the hole, won't you get out of the hole? That's every single song. I can't believe he's going to do that. That's okay. I want to see that happen. Can he pull that off? That's the kind of fun of the show.
Yeah. Like you were saying earlier, you know, I don't want to see it to go too smoothly. I want my heart to drop when you pull something out of the fishbowl and like, oh, he's screwed now. Yeah. Oh, he did it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Once there's no danger in the show, the audience, it's mediocre in my mind. It's not as enjoyable for the audience. You want the audience to always go, how the hell is he going to do that? And whatever tricks I have up my sleeve to do it. I mean, there are certain things. It's an improvised show. There is a skeleton. I do kind of know which song comes after which song style. But I've never cheated. You know what I mean? I don't plan ahead. I don't have song titles that I can grab out of the air, although I've been accused of that on a regular basis, which I guess is a compliment. But I'm very much a purist about this being a collaborative event. I think that's what the other thing about improv that I love so much is that if it's done right, the audience is as much a part of it as you are. It's their suggestions, and people are. There's one thing I do at the end of the show. Usually, I'll do some sort of number that gets faster and faster as it goes, and all I will do is pull out all the unused suggestions and read them as fast as I can. Just read as many cards as I can. And people just want to hear their suggestion read out loud. Even if it's that end thing where you're not making up a song based on it, you're just doing something from their card. And people just love that. I had one experience where when I first did the show at the Duplex, the guy was very kind. His name's Thomas Honick, and he was very kind. He was like, all right, I'll give you a slot, and then if it goes well, we'll see if we can bring you back. So I did the show, and what sold them was the first, one of the songs I did was called Don't Talk Any Wooden Nickels. Because it's clearly supposed to be don't take any wooden nickels, but that's not what was on the card. The card said don't talk any wooden nickels. And so I made up a song about a guy who is a wooden nickel collector, and he's so like desperate for them that when he walks into any antique shop, he just says to the owner, "Don't talk any wooden nickels," and that is the whole song. And Thomas had written that suggestion, and he went and found the card after the show because he swore he wrote "Don't take any wooden nickels," and he was like, "Damned if I didn't write 'Don't talk.'" And he's like, "Yeah, keep coming back and doing this show." Listen, people want to hear their suggestions, right? And if it's "Don't talk any wooden nickels," then it's "Don't talk any wooden nickels." What can I tell you?
And the beauty of that interaction is that if the show goes badly, it is clearly the audience's fault. And you're
exactly
off scot-free,
take the blame.
If I had a better fishbowl up here, this would have worked funnier than hell.
You guys are terrible. Yes. The worst is when you get generic, I have dismissed suggestions before because, if I'm looking for a song and I get, he told me, my dad gave me one piece of advice, and that advice was, be nice. Okay, no, not doing that song. I said, what else you got for me, Dad? And he goes, always say please. No, Dad, you got to give me something I can work with here. And he's like, don't F it up. And you're like, Dad, I can work with. I'll sing that song. So once in a while I'll be cheesy, but only with the audience's, complicity. They know what I'm doing. They can see why I'm dismissing certain things. So I think it's very collaborative, and I enjoy that.
Well, folks can be part of it September 17th and 18th, Birdland. And, of course, I'll have the Eventbrite link in the description down here if you're in the area. Folks can go see Jason perform off the top.
It's an all-vaccinated show. Yeah, it's an all-vaccinated show. So you can come in, have a drink. Everybody on stage, everybody behind the scenes, everybody serving you, and everybody else in the audience will be vaccinated. So it'll make it a lot easier to come and enjoy.
That's great. And thank you so much for talking to me about it today. It was really great to speak with you.
Of course. You as well. Nice to talk to you.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.